The Uns Valiant was towed back to Colony 7 by the evacuation transport. The ship limped in, damaged and broken, but still flying. The skeleton crew that remained aboard had managed to bring enough life support back online to survive. Nathan Cross walked out of the medical bay 14 hours later with bandages covering his ribs and his left arm in a sling. The Krell beam that had burned through the starboard side of the ship had come close to killing him. Close was enough in space. The crew was gathered in the main corridor to greet him. 87 people had left Earth. 75 were still alive. 12 had died in the battle. Another 12 might never walk again. Nathan looked at each of their faces. He saw Elena Vasquez sitting in a wheelchair, her legs badly burned when the bridge consoles had exploded. He saw Robert Hayes with his arm bandaged, having been caught in a steam release from the dying engine core. He saw Marcus Stone with his head in a sling after an impact had thrown him against a wall. They were broken, but they were alive. And more importantly, the people they had fought to protect were alive. Governor Peterson came to meet him in the command center of the evacuation ship. She was thinner than she had been, worn down by hours of coordinating the escape. But her eyes were clear. 30,472 people, she said. That is how many we saved. Because you came. Because your crew refused to abandon us. Nathan did not know what to say. He had done what felt right. He had fought because fighting was the only option that mattered. A week later, the first official report reached Earth Command. It was a complete record of everything that had happened at Colony 7. The attack, the evacuation, the impossible defense mounted by a single human ship. Earth Command did exactly what Nathan had expected. They convened a court-martial. They charged him with acting without authorization. They said he had violated orders and protocols. But something unexpected happened. The Galactic Council reviewed the case. And the Council made a decision that shocked the human leadership. They offered Nathan Cross a position, a military advisor, a permanent seat on the Defense Committee, a chance to reshape humanity's place in the galaxy. Nathan refused. Instead, he proposed something else. He proposed the creation of a new fleet. The Human Protective Fleet, a military force dedicated not to expanding human territory, but to defending the species and the worlds that the Council deemed expendable. The Council said no, but 5 other species volunteered to join the effort. Species that had seen what humanity could do. Species that understood that Deathworlders were not weak. Species that wanted to learn from the stubborn refusal to accept defeat. Nathan accepted their offer. The Human Protective Fleet became an alliance. A new force in the galaxy. A force built on the principle that survival meant standing with those who had no one else to stand with. 6 months after the battle, Nathan stood on the observation deck of a new ship. The Ons Valiant had been repaired and restored. It still bore the scars of battle. The hull showed the damage marks. The systems were rebuilt but not made new. The ship carried its history in its very structure. That was the point. This ship had fought the Krell and lived. This ship had carried humans into the dark against impossible odds. This ship was proof that the impossible was possible. Elena Vasquez had requested to remain as Nathan's pilot. She used a cane now, her legs still healing, but her hands still moved across the controls with the same grace and certainty. Robert Hayes had been promoted to Chief of Engineering for the entire Protective Fleet. He was training new engineers in the art of pushing ships beyond their limits. Marcus Stone was now Tactical Advisor for the entire Alliance. They were broken, but they were not defeated. They were changed, but they were not diminished. Below them, on Earth, the story had spread to every city and every country. The story of the Deathworlders who had asked for help and received it from their own people. The story of a captain and a crew who had charged into darkness. Schools taught the battle as history. Young people applied to join the military, wanting to be part of something that mattered. Humanity had changed. The galaxy had changed. The Krell Empire began to fragment under the weight of its losses. World after world that had been conquered began to resist. Because they had seen what one human ship could do. They had seen that the Krell could be beaten. On a small farm in the American Midwest, Nathan's mother watched the news feeds. She saw her son's face. She saw the medals and the honors. She saw the history being written in real time. She smiled. She had always known what the galaxy was only now beginning to understand. You cannot kill something that was born and raised on a death world. You cannot stop something that was taught from birth that survival meant fighting. Nathan Cross had grown up on Earth where predators hunted and prey learned to hunt back. Where rain could kill and storms could destroy, and yet life persisted. That was what made him dangerous. That was what made all humans dangerous. The Deathworlders had come to the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same again. End of story. Nathan Price woke up to the sound of sirens. The transport ship shook hard, throwing him against the metal wall of his bunk. He was a soldier, and his body moved before his mind caught up. He rolled out of bed and grabbed his jacket. The ship shook again, worse this time. He ran into the corridor. Other soldiers were moving fast, heading toward the emergency stations. Nathan had been in the military for 23 years. He had seen combat in deserts and mountains and frozen places. He knew what danger looked like. This was different. This was something worse. An alarm blared through the ship. A voice came over the speaker, but it was not in English. It was not in any human language. It made sounds like glass breaking mixed with whale songs. Nathan stopped running. Around him, other soldiers stopped too. They all looked confused and scared. Then the world went white. Nathan felt a pull, like something was grabbing him from inside his body. It did not hurt. It was like being caught in a strong current of water. He saw other soldiers around him being pulled too. They were floating up, their feet leaving the ground. Nathan tried to grab the wall, but his hands passed through it like it was not there. The white light got brighter and brighter until there was nothing else in the universe except white. When Nathan's eyes opened, he was lying on cold metal. His whole body felt like it had been turned inside out and then put back together wrong. He lay there for a long time before he could make his hands work. When he finally pushed himself up, he looked around. He was in a dome. The dome was so big that he could not see where the walls ended. The sky above was not blue or black. It was a sick green color that moved like water. Below his feet was metal, but it was warm. In the distance, he could see other domes. Big domes and small domes, all connected by tunnels made of something that looked like clear plastic. Nathan stood up slowly. His legs were shaky, but they held his weight. He looked down at himself. He was still wearing his soldier clothes. Nothing had changed except where he was. Everything about this place was wrong. A voice came into his head. Not from his ears. From inside his mind. Nathan knew this was not real, but the voice was loud and clear. Welcome, specimen. You have been selected for the Galactic Zoo. Your species is now under observation. You will stay here until the Council decides if your kind has value. Do not try to escape. Do not try to fight. You will be tested. Nathan looked around the dome. There were barriers made of something clear and hard. He walked to one and touched it. It was warm and smooth. He pushed hard. It did not move. He hit it with his fist. It did not crack or break. Behind the barriers, Nathan could see other creatures. In one dome, something blue and wet moved slowly, like it was always sleeping. In another, a creature made of hard black shell with too many legs ran back and forth, back and forth. In a third dome, something that looked like clear glass but had colors inside. It stood very still. Nathan looked at his own dome. There was a pile of something that looked like food in the corner. There was a container with water. There was nothing else. No chairs. No bed. No tools. Just the food, the water, and Nathan thought he did not touch the food yet. He sat down on the metal floor and thought. The voice had said he was a specimen. The voice said he was under observation. The voice said he would be tested. Nathan had learned in the military that information was everything. If you knew what the enemy wanted, you could use that against them. Nathan looked at the creatures in the other domes. They were watching him. The blue wet thing had turned to face him. The black shell creature had stopped running and was standing still, looking at him through the barrier. The clear glass thing was reflecting his image back at him. Nathan smiled. These creatures thought he was just an animal in a zoo. They thought he was weak. They thought he did not understand what was happening. They thought they had already won. Nathan had learned long ago that the enemy's mistakes were the best weapons. And these creatures were already making mistakes. They thought a human was just another animal. They thought humans could be put in a cage and studied like insects. They did not know that humans had survived on a world that wanted to kill them. They did not know that humans had learned to think their way out of problems that should have destroyed them. Nathan lay down on the metal floor and closed his eyes. Tomorrow the tests would start. Tomorrow they would learn what humans really were. The tests came sooner than Nathan expected. He was eating the strange food when the barriers around him disappeared. He could see the other domes clearly now. A voice told him to enter a large chamber. Nathan walked through the opening without fear. The chamber was huge. The ceiling was so high that Nathan had to squint to see it. And standing in the chamber with him were 4 other creatures. The one made of blue wet skin. The one with black shell and too many legs. The clear glass one that looked like it was made of light. And something else. Something that looked like it was made of stone, but it moved, like the stone was alive. A voice came to all of them. This is a puzzle chamber. You will see a structure. You have 1 hour to open it. The first one to open, it gets food and comfort. The others get nothing. Begin. A cube the size of a house appeared in the middle of the chamber. Nathan walked to it slowly. The cube was covered in marks and symbols. Some of them glowed. Some of them did not. The blue creature threw water at the cube. The water just fell off. The black shell creature started to hit the cube with its legs, over and over. The hits made loud noises but did not break the cube. The stone creature tried to push the cube. The glass thing shot light at the cube. Nothing worked. Nathan looked at the symbols again. He studied them carefully. At first, they meant nothing. But Nathan had learned that everything meant something. Humans were good at finding patterns. Nathan had spent years learning how to read maps and understand signals and see what was hidden. He traced his finger in the air, following the symbols. There was a pattern. It repeated, but not perfectly. One symbol was different. It was turned the wrong way. Nathan walked to the cube. The other creatures watched him. He reached out and touched the symbol that was different. He twisted it. The whole cube made a sound like wind chimes. The top open. Inside was a small device that showed a planet in blue and green. The voice came again. The human solved it first. Excellent. The human gets the reward. The others fail. The black shell creature made a sound of anger. The stone creature stopped moving completely. The blue creature turned away. The glass thing went dark. Nathan picked up the device and felt the weight of it in his hand. He had won the first test, and he understood something important now. These creatures were smart, but humans were different. Humans could find patterns that nobody else could find. Humans could see the hidden answer. Nathan walked out of the chamber, back to his dome. The barriers went up again. He held the device and smiled. The Galactic Zoo had made a big mistake. It did not understand what humans were capable of. The tests would get harder. Nathan knew that. But he was ready. 3 weeks passed. Nathan was moved to a larger dome with different creatures every few days. Each test was harder than the last one. The zoo was learning what Nathan could do. In one test, Nathan had to run. The zoo made him run for hours while other creatures hunted him. Nathan used the terrain. He hid behind rocks. He found water and drank it while the hunting creatures were confused about where he went. His body felt like it was burning, but he did not stop. He did not quit. And after 6 hours, the hunting creatures had to stop. They were too tired. In another test, Nathan was locked in darkness alone. For 3 weeks, he could not see sunlight. There was nothing but black. The zoo wanted to break his mind. But Nathan made routines. He exercised. He counted. He talked to himself. He remembered his childhood and his family and why he became a soldier. And when the darkness finally ended, Nathan was not broken. He was stronger. In a test with puzzles, Nathan had to solve problems that got harder and harder. A creature made of living metal kept trying to lift walls. A gas creature tried to flow through barriers. A flying creature with 6 wings tried to find openings. But Nathan understood how things worked. He understood that you did not always have to fight a problem. Sometimes you could go around it. Sometimes you could use the problem against itself. Nathan solved every single puzzle first. The zoo changed the tests again. Now it made Nathan compete against creatures that were faster and stronger and heavier than he was. Nathan lost some of these tests. His body got hurt. He bled. He broke bones. But humans could do something the other creatures could not do. Humans could heal. Humans could feel pain and keep moving anyway. And humans could do something else that confused the zoo completely. Humans could cooperate. In one test, Nathan was forced into a chamber with a creature that was made of ice and crystal. It was beautiful to look at, like watching light shine through a window. The zoo made the chamber get hotter and hotter. The crystal creature was going to melt. Nathan did not think about winning or losing. He shielded the crystal creature with his own body. The heat burned him. His skin turned red and started to blister. But the crystal creature was protected. When the test ended, the crystal creature made a sound like bells. It was not a sound of victory. It was a sound of something else. Something that Nathan understood without words. It was a sound of gratitude. Nathan collapsed on the floor. He was hurt badly. The zoo sent robots to heal him. They put medicine on his burns. They gave him water and food. But Nathan did not care about his own pain. He kept looking at the crystal creature through the barrier between their domes. The zoo did not make them fight. That was strange. Nathan expected another test, but nothing came. The zoo was quiet. Nathan realized something. The zoo was confused now. It did not understand what Nathan had done. The zoo thought creatures would always try to win. The zoo thought creatures would always try to survive alone. But Nathan had shown the zoo something different. Nathan had shown that helping another creature was more important than winning, and the crystal creature understood this. Nathan could see it in how it moved, in how it looked at him across the empty space between their domes. The zoo did not know what to do with that. The silence lasted for days. Nathan was not moved to tests. He just stayed in his dome. The crystal creature stayed in its dome. And between them was empty space where Nathan could see the creature clearly. Nathan started to teach the crystal creature about humans. He did not use words. He moved his body in ways that showed what humans could do. He showed how humans could use their hands to make things. He showed how humans could think through problems. He showed how humans felt things deeply, even when it hurt. The crystal creature listened. It moved slowly. Colors passed through its body. It was learning. Or at least, Nathan thought it was learning. Maybe it was something else. Then the zoo brought Nathan to a new place. A big place. Bigger than anything he had seen before. The dome was so large that Nathan could not see where it ended. And in the center of this huge dome was something impossible. The council was sitting there. They were not made of flesh or metal, or crystal, or any material that Nathan could name. They were ancient. They were huge. Looking at them made Nathan's eyes hurt because they seemed to exist in more dimensions than his brain could understand. The voice came again, but now it sounded different. It sounded almost afraid. The council has made a decision. You have been tested in every way that we know how to test. Your species has shown qualities that we did not expect. You have shown strength and speed and intelligence. But you have also shown something else. Something that is dangerous. Nathan did not move. He did not speak. He waited. The council continued. Your species is unpredictable. Your species makes choices that our logic cannot explain. Your species cares about other creatures more than your own survival. This is a danger to the order of the galaxy. Your species will be destroyed. Your world will be marked as forbidden. Humans will be erased from our records. Nathan heard the words. He understood them. The council was going to kill him. And then they were going to kill every human on Earth. But before Nathan could feel despair, the crystal creature moved. It had been brought to the council chamber too, and now it stood between Nathan and the council. The crystal creature made sounds. Not words, but sounds that meant something. The sounds meant, this human saved my life. This human chose to protect me instead of winning. This human understands something that we have forgotten. Other creatures came forward too. The black shell creature. The stone creature. The flying creature with 6 wings. And others that Nathan had never seen before. The black shell creature made hard clicking sounds. The human won every test. But more than that, the human understands that winning means nothing if everything else is destroyed. The stone creature moved, and its movement was like music. The human thinks in ways we cannot think. This is not a danger. This is what we need. One by one, the creatures spoke for Nathan. And with each voice, the council became quieter. Finally, the council made a sound that was not words. It was a sound of agreement. The sound filled the entire chamber and made the metal shake. Nathan stood on a platform made of light. The platform was floating in space, and he could see stars all around him. The crystal creature stood beside him. The black shell creature was there too, and dozens of other creatures, all of them standing together, all of them looking out at the stars. The council had made its decision. Humans were not a threat. Humans were important. And Nathan was going to be the first human ambassador to the Galactic Council. In 6 months, other humans would come. They would meet the council and the other creatures. They would learn that Earth was not alone. They would learn that humans had a place in the galaxy. Nathan thought about his family. He thought about the soldiers he had left behind. He thought about all the people on Earth who did not know that another intelligent species existed. He thought about all the people who thought they were alone in the universe. When the humans came, everything would change. The crystal creature made a sound, and Nathan understood it somehow. The creature was happy. It was glad that Nathan would represent humans. It was glad that humans would join the galaxy. It was glad that Nathan had not killed it when the zoo tried to make them fight. Nathan put his hand on the crystal creature. He could feel the warmth of it. It was real. This was all real. He was not in a cage anymore. He was standing in space, looking at the stars, with a friend that was made of crystal and light. The voice of the council came one last time. Thank you, Nathan Price. Your species will change the galaxy. You will teach us that the strongest thing is not power or intelligence. The strongest thing is to choose to care about another being, even when it costs you everything. Humans will help us remember what we have forgotten. Nathan looked at his friend. He looked at the other creatures standing with him. He looked at the stars beyond them. He thought about Earth, so far away and so small compared to everything else. But Earth was not alone anymore, and Nathan was not a prisoner. He was the bridge between two worlds. And standing on that bridge, Nathan Price was exactly where he was supposed to be. The light from the stars grew brighter. The platform began to move, carrying Nathan and the creatures away from the Galactic Zoo, toward a future that nobody could predict. Nathan did not feel fear. He felt hope, and hope was something that humans had always been good at. The human had come to the Galactic Zoo and changed everything. The creatures had tested him, but in the end, the creatures had failed the test. They had failed to understand that humans were not just animals to be studied. Humans were something new. Humans were something that the galaxy needed. And as the platform carried him forward into the darkness of space, Nathan Price smiled. The greatest adventure of his life was just beginning.